Welcome to our channel. Today, we bring you another topic, top 10 podcasts to listen to for investing. In some way or another, all major financial journals now have a podcast, and many of them aren't behind a paywall. You may hire a professional financial consultant for investing guidance, but you can also access experienced market information without paying a charge. 10. Best Investing Podcast for Your Morning Commute. FT News Briefing by the Financial Times. The FT News Briefing is best described as brief and to the point. It gives a high-level overview of the day's global, economic, and business news. If you listen to this podcast during your morning commute, you'll be a step ahead of the game when you get to work. You might want to add Seeking Alpha's Wall Street Breakfast to the mix as well. It's a daily news overview similar to the FT News Briefing, but with a stronger focus on stocks. 9. Best Podcast for Beginners. Get Started, the Beginner's Guide to the Stock Market. Do you want to begin investing but don't know where to start? If that's the case, this is the podcast for you. My Wall Street has a second inclusion on the list, but we are glad to include our most recent Get Started series. This 5-part series delves into the fundamentals of getting started with investing. Get Started contains everything you need to know to become a successful, long-term stock investor, based on the timeless lessons of My Wall Street Learn app, which has been downloaded over 2 million times to date. Number 8. Best Investing Podcast Host, Masters of Scale by Reid Hoffman. Reid Hoffman is a LinkedIn co-founder, former COO of PayPal, and a Greylock Partners partner. He sits on Airbnb, Convoy, Edmodo, and Microsoft, among others. You might be wondering why this individual has to start a podcast. The truth is that he doesn't have to. He enjoys it. The podcast's theme is around a specific idea that the host promotes. Reid Hoffman sets out to define and verify ideas that explain how exceptional entrepreneurs take their firms from zero to a gazillion in creative form, according to the podcast description. As a result, each episode has its perspective based on the idea at hand. Each episode offers a distinct perspective on the evolution of a company, from bootstrapping to startup, to size with MailChimp CEO Ben Chestnut, to the formula for successful recruiting with Anil Bousri, co-founder and CEO of Workday. Like the correct bourbon, it all flows together effortlessly and flawlessly. 7. Best Market News Podcast, Business Daily with BBC World Service. The BBC Business Daily takes a deep dive into a single news item every day. These subjects range from China's alarming consumer debt levels to shareholders' rising dissatisfaction with Uber, but each episode serves as a daily economic update. The level of attention to detail is astonishing for a daily podcast. It usually includes in-depth reporting, expert viewpoints, and interviews with persons on the ground and industry specialists. Starting to think like an investor by listening to Business Daily on your daily commute is a solid way to get started. At My Wall Street, it's one of our favorite market news podcasts. 6. Best Commentary Podcast, Pivot by Scott Galloway and Kara Swisher. If you haven't met Scott Galloway yet, do so right away. He's one of My Wall Street's favorite commentators, and he'll soon be yours as well. His rant on Adam Neumann and the WeWork disaster shines a bright light on the corporate governance that led to the company's demise. His no-holds-barred approach fits right in with Kara Swisher's Pivot podcast. Their sardonic wit and dark humor are released on the weekly tech news, leading to some bold predictions. We're still waiting for Netflix to make a bid for Spotify. Pivot is a fantastic resource for frank and candid analysis of all things technology, business, and politics. Galloway and Swisher do a tremendous job of presenting their professional viewpoints in the context of a friendly chat. 5. Best Podcast on Innovation, FYI, for your innovation. FYI is a highbrow intellectual perspective on future-defining technologies and the disruptive entrepreneurs who are pioneering them, brought to you by ARK Invest. The ARK research team has been well known for some genuinely exceptional work in the last year, and this podcast is another avenue to learn more about the organization and its operations. The program delves into the themes that have made ARK a household brand, including self-driving cars, mobile payments, gene editing, and artificial intelligence. In addition, industry experts will be interviewed by members of the study team to offer background on these technologies and what the future holds for them. While it is less often than many of the other names on this list, it is a must-listen whenever a new episode is released. 4. Best Economics Podcast, Planet Money by NPR. The state of the economy is explained, a straightforward mission with a complex execution. Planet Money has been on the air almost 10 years and has over 900 episodes under its belt. Planet Money airs twice a week on NPR, with new episodes occasionally mixed with historical programs from the archives. It has a wide range of topics and a high degree of information. Planet Money does a fantastic job of conveying something tiresome in a non-boring way. It seeks to make economic theory understandable to the general public by utilizing bizarre case stories to highlight underlying complex issues. 3. Best Company Deep Dives, Chit Chat Money, Chit Chat Money is a nice casual listen about the investment world, hosted by Brett Schaefer and Ryan Henderson. The two hosts are extremely well-read and frequently join a notable guest to analyze the market's ups and downs. On the other hand, the company's deep dives are what set this podcast distinct. This podcast will break down an S1 or 10K financials, leadership team, and market potential twice a week, demonstrating some high-level due diligence as they break down an S1 or 10K financials and leadership team. The degree of depth and analysis is unparalleled, and I've found the podcast to be an excellent companion when conducting my studies. Redfin, Upstart, and Tattooed Chef are just a few of its recent deep dives. 2. Best Stock Market Podcast, Motley Fool Money by The Motley Fool. Stock. The Motley Fool Money is a roundup of all the stock market news from the previous week, with commentary from the Fool's top analysts. They dissect each and all mitigating variables that may impact Wall Street and the impact on investors. This is an excellent location to go during earnings season to receive a simplified version of the week's chaos in one spot. Like everything else created by the Motley Fool, this podcast is guaranteed to be of the most excellent quality. Motley Fool Money is one of the most fantastic investing podcasts out there. Whether you're listening to learn about what variables may affect companies in your portfolio, get a general summary of the week, or want a stock choice or two to explore yourself. 1. Best Investing Podcast, Stock Club by My Wall Street. Stock Club is a podcast presented by our head of content, James Doon, our chief investment officer, Emmett Savage, and our head analyst, Rory Karen. In our studio here at My Wall Street HQ, it is the most significant investment podcast available in our utterly impartial view. The team covers current marketing events, pitches stocks from our selection on My Wall Street, and uses its Jargon Buster feature to demystify the stock market. This podcast stands out from the rest on this list since it applies to investors of all levels. The guys discuss current hot issues on the stock market casually, break down some of the equities we have in our subscription service, and answer questions about themes or concepts that a new investor might find overwhelming. But of course, the best way to understand REITs is to have them described with an Irish accent. So sit down with My Wall Street investment team as they discuss the firms and methods that influence their investing decisions. Being a successful investor like Warren Buffett is hard and discouraging at times. Learning from other investors' mistakes and tips can save you a lot of time and money, so if you want to learn from other successful investors, click on the next video here, as we narrow down the list of the top 10 books written by successful investors. These books are a must-read for any serious investor.